Hi everyone, my name is Amandine Flax and welcome to my channel. I usually host a series of live video stream where I interview early stage startup founders on the journey after playing video games with my guests. During these discussions, anyone can ask questions live, though quite often some topics are coming again and again, so I decided to start this series of videos to address them. And today, let's talk about working from home. I know, you already have read too many blog posts, too many articles, I've seen too many people sharing their pictures of the Zoom calls. I don't know, it feels like everyone has to do it. Working remotely isn't new. I have been working from home for years now, and people like me can tell you all about the pros and cons about working remotely. Everyone is trying to share their 2 cents about working from home, and I get that, and I'm not going to try to add to the noise, or at least I will try. But the real worries that I've seen recently are from startups and small businesses who are wondering about the effect of the situation for the future of their business. Questions such as how do you hire people that you've never met? Or how do you create a culture within your company when you're not physically in the same space? Or even how do you deal with a fully or partially remote team? Depending on where you're based, you may have been imposed to switch to remote working completely. And suddenly, what's going to happen after the lockdown? What's going to happen once everyone can actually go back to the office? Is everyone going to ask you about working remotely and staying in the pajama because they really enjoyed it? Well, you may be surprised actually. Whether you've been thinking about remote working for you or for your team, or even if you haven't considered this as an option, due to the current situation, it had to happen for most companies. The pain point isn't about the tech, but it's actually how you build new habits. Everyone has their own office habits. Some prefer to spend the first 30 minutes of the day getting caffeinated and chit-chatting with their colleagues, and other people will prefer to just focus on the work, get some stuff done, to then be available for teamwork activities. Maybe if you're a founder, you really enjoy having some stand-up, maybe a daily stand-up, a weekly stand-up, or something quite similar. There are many tools that can help you bring your meetings and any usual format you have online. But as I mentioned before, it may not be the main struggle to find the one that fits you. What can become really quickly a big pain point for your company is actually for your teammates to understand how to use them. And I'm not talking about how do you download Zoom or how do you create a company account or Whereby or whatever other tools you're using. I'm talking about how do you actually interact with the tool? What are the rules? Is there any explicit rules, any implicit rules? A founder that I know is actually using Discord for his company, and he told me that he created this channel, a vocal channel, for anyone to just pop in and talk with anyone who is around, which could replace the chit-chat you may have in the office. Or again, last week I tested with the backed VC Scouts a virtual lunch. It was very fun. We all ordered some food and we all sit together for lunchtime. For the 15 of us to be in the same discussion and share our thought and journey and just our week, well, we actually realized quickly that we needed to have a moderator to help us make sure that everyone could speak. I wouldn't recommend anyone to have that many people on the call, or even in a real life meeting. You don't need 15 people unless you're working on a virtual event, but really quickly you will need some rule and some way of just managing this crowd. Successfully building new habits online, start by focusing on your company culture and what makes working with your company unique. Which brings me to my second point. How do you create a culture within your company when you're not actually physically sitting in an office? Some companies have been leading the way, sharing tons of useful resources about building remote teams. I'm especially thinking about Buffer or Zapier, and would recommend you to check out their blog posts because they are very interesting tips there. Building your own company culture is all about how do you work together as a team, but also how does your teammate and everyone individually interacts with everyone else. Now when you're working together in the same place, in the same office, a lot of habits just comes naturally. One day someone decides to put some music on Monday morning to get some self-motivation, or someone else just invites everyone to go for a drink after work on Fridays, and voila. Well, it's not the best way of creating a company culture, just hoping that something will naturally happen between the people working there. But to be honest, lots of founders are just so busy, especially at an early stage. They just want to make it happen, and they're not going to look at the company culture and what it means until the company reaches a certain size. When you're building a fully remote team, well, chances are that nothing at all will happen naturally, so you have from day one to think about how to make it personal. Maybe it is about having some remote yoga classes or sharing some music playlist, whatever best works for you and for your team. We talked about office-based teams and also fully remote teams, but before the lockdown, lots of founders also came to me asking about how do you react or what do you do when you have your first team members who want to start working remotely. And I'm not talking about the entire team, just a couple of people within the team. Well, that's where things start to get complicated. In the past, I worked with a company that was mostly decentralized, working from all over the world, but one of the team was all working together from the same office. And the main thing that I've learned from this experience was the importance to have really transparent and simple communication channels, even with the people you're not working with directly. The cost of having everyone not on the same page is actually greater than all the effort you have to put to make it work. Many startups have been actively hiring when the city went into lockdown, so naturally comes the question of remote hiring. Maybe your company decided to postpone a bit the starting date of new employees, but if your business is running close to usual and if anyone can just work remotely, then I would definitely recommend you not to freeze your hiring plans. To successfully hire someone, especially remotely, you need first to start by having a really clear, accessible, and well-documented onboarding process. Second, you need to be super specific in your job description about what the role is about, what are your expectations, and also what are the KPI for this specific position. 3, advertise the role in many platforms. This way you can have a better chance to have a diverse pool of candidates and also a larger pool of candidates. 4, you will need to do the entire process online through video calls mainly. But that doesn't mean that you can't get as much information as you would in real life. You just need to be very prepared and also reactive when it comes to scheduling video calls. And the last point is, don't be worried about hiring and firing fast. Those different points are not necessarily specific to remote hiring. Hiring the right talents when you're a startup is always very challenging. You need to find the people that fits your company culture, that fits your goals, that fits your budget. It's always difficult. Remote working simply requires less ambiguities and more transparency and slightly more preparation because you need to better understand what you want really from these people and communicate it really clearly. The last point I want to mention is about the future. Future of work is a huge topic and I am definitely not an expert in the domain. However, most of us had to switch suddenly to remote working, so the pressing question now is what's going to happen next. Many founders are wondering right now if it's going to be the new normal and if after the lockdown everyone will ask to stay working remotely. Well, truth is, I doubt it's going to be the case. Something that is important to understand is that it's not the usual remote working situation. Many cities are under lockdown, supplies are limited, you can't just go out to do sport or whatever you used to do, and it can be very frustrating for lots of people. I believe we are all trying to find the small positive things that happen during the day to just keep it together. Most of us are indeed sharing lots of positive stuff on social media. From push-up challenges to picture of food, picture of learnings, things we're trying to do, like new side projects, whatever it is. Well, it is actually to stay sane and stay positive. You want to share good vibes, and that's kind of the magic of social media. I've been chatting with lots of people who actually open up on the struggle working from home, but also their mental health in this situation. And many of them just want to go back to the office. They just can't wait to have a coffee with their teammates. It's hard to find new habits, and I think lots of people are worried right now about what's going to be after. For sure, there will be some effect. I'm not saying that everything will go back to normal, but from the founder perspective, try not to make any assumption on what people want because you may be surprised. Since you had to adapt to remote working, you have opened a door that you can choose to leave open, and I hope you will because there are lots of advantages Well, the choice will be available back to you to come back to the office for you and for your team. I really hope that it will just open a discussion about what works best for everyone and what works best for the entire company. Communication issues are far too common within startups, so having a very transparent and honest discussion about it would be the best that can happen to you. All the different points that I mentioned are definitely worth taking further. And if you want more information about specific blog posts or resources, or want to discuss about remote working, please do leave a comment below or reach out on social media, and I'll be happy to take the discussion further. I was initially planning on sharing also my own working from home tips and routine, but this video covers already a lot. If this is something that you could find interesting, just let me know and I'll be happy to cover that too. This is the first video on my channel that is not about interviewing someone else or live streaming, so if you enjoy it and want me to create more videos like this, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, comment, share the video, and also you can reach out on social media anytime, especially on Twitter at AmandinFlax, where I share lots of tech news, but also thoughts and, well, a bunch of other things. Stay safe everyone, and I hope to see you soon for another video.